What's going on, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and I'm sure many of you already know that I'm a huge fan of story-based games, of narrative-based games, as long as they're good, of course. None of this Bioshock Infinite shit. But something I especially love when it comes to quality story games is storytelling, and the actual mechanics used to tell this. Now, there's many different ways that this can be done, through certain mechanics only used in specific games, or stuff that is kind of cross-game, cross-genre, cross-storytelling method, whatever it is. Let me give you a quick example. Let's look at Shenmue 2. Without going into spoilers, if you have the Dreamcast version, the entire final disc is one of the most absolutely amazing storytelling, narrative-driving mechanics I've ever seen in a game. Of course, there'll be no spoilers for that because, well, we're going to have to do it on stream very soon. But of course, when you mention single-player, narrative-based, story-heavy, story-driven, whatever way you want to word it, when you look at games like that, it's only fair to mention Quantic Dream. Of course, Quantic Dream being the studio behind Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and most recently, Detroit Become Human. Yeah, they did Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy, depending on where you live in the world, as well as Omicron, but most of the people will know them for Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit, and to a lesser extent, Fahrenheit. So having said all that, I want to take a second to look at something that's done in one of their mainstream games. When I mainly talk about their games and their mainstream games and all, I'm basically talking Fahrenheit, Heavy Rain, Beyond, and Detroit. We're leaving Omicron out of it for this. But generally there's an overarching, what I could only call theme or style that they use for their games, of course. A lot of that is the whole choice system as well. Take that, Telltale. But I want to take a second and look at something that they've only used in what I classify as their weakest game that actually surpasses certain systems in every other one of their games. Now, to give you a bit of perspective, I just want to take a brief little history lesson here. We all know about Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy. We've all probably played that or watched me play it on stream or checked out the video on demand I have here on the channel. But the gameplay you find in that is basically a precursor to the likes of Heavy Rain, Beyond, and Detroit. Moving forward, when you look at Heavy Rain, a game which was so good, mind you, was actually my game of the year for 2010. And you look at the gameplay in that, which obviously evolved a bit more and ended up in Beyond Two Souls, which evolved a bit more and ended up in Detroit Become Human. But there's a gameplay mechanic that they used in Beyond Two Souls that they haven't used in Fahrenheit, in Heavy Rain, or in Detroit that actually surpasses some of the mechanics in the other games and fits much better with, essentially with the story and what it's trying to strive to do. And just to give you a quick frame of reference of how much praise I'm actually putting on this, like I mentioned, Beyond Two Souls I consider Quantic Dream's weakest game. When I played this when it first launched back on the PS3, I was thoroughly disappointed with the game overall. When the collection came out on PS4, I tried to play it again and I was very disappointed. Could only get a couple of chapters in and turn it off and haven't played it since. Until yesterday. Now I'm basically at the end of the game again, but because I'm taking a little bit of a break, it's the perfect time to talk about this while it's all fresh in my mind. So we all know the style of gameplay that's in Fahrenheit, that's in Heavy Rain, that's in Beyond, that's in Detroit. It's essentially the choice-based system. You can walk up and you can do something, you can press a button, or you can not press a button. Or you can press a button to do something, or press a button to not do something. It's very simple stuff. It's a binary choice. There's very little motivation and drive to do anything, or stop doing anything, or to not do anything. However, that completely changes in Beyond Two Souls, with the whole mechanic of having two characters at once that you can switch between, one of them of course being Jodie, Ellen Page, and the other which, I hate pronouncing this because America butchered the name, the paranormal being Aiden. His name is actually Aiden, but Americans butcher names, so whatever. But with the power and control afforded to you by Aiden and his powers, it adds a whole new mechanic and dynamic to the game. Let me give you an example. Just a moment ago I compared it to something like Heavy Rain or Detroit, where you could press a button to do something, you could press a button to not do something, or you can not press a button to not do something. Or in certain situations, you could even press a button to stop doing something. But there's very little control once you've actually got going and once you've actually started. Usually your mind is just sitting there making a judgment. You're only seeing the actions rather than controlling them, if you ask me. But in Beyond Two Souls, When you're controlling Aiden and you're given free reign with his powers and his abilities to start doing stuff, it can easily get out of hand and your curiosity can just take over. And frankly, your inhibitions can kind of be a little bit removed. Because when you're doing one thing, you enjoy it. And then you think, oh, maybe I can do another, and another, and another, and another. But the big thing when it comes to Beyond Two Souls is that in the majority of these sections, you have other people, other characters screaming and shouting at you, begging you, pleading you to stop. But because you're getting the control and you're getting the power and ability to do all this, you're controlling it, you're experiencing it, you're not being forced to stop. And you're progressing further and further and further and escalating everything you're doing. I think that's a really well done game mechanic for, like I said, what I consider the weakest of Quantic Dream's games. And the reason I bring it up is, like in most of the other games, Fahrenheit, Heavy Rain, Detroit, it's usually a very binary system. You start, and then the game forces you to stop at a very small margin. Or you just don't go and don't do it at all. Whereas in something like Beyond Two Souls, they give you a quick choice. Something like, let's see what you can do in this area. And then you have a choice of so many different things to do. You could knock over a water bottle. You could knock over some blocks. You could shake some cameras. Whatever it is. But then you can go crazy. You could start throwing stuff around a room, breaking glass, people begging you and asking you to stop. But you can keep going because you're curious to see what your power can do. You're enjoying everything you can do because you're actually doing it. That response is ticking and pressing in your brain every single time. When you move those sticks, you let go and something happens and you see several other points on the screen that instantly in your brain you know, ooh, I wonder what I can do there. What will that do? How will this fuck something up? And yet people in the background, in all 5 of your surround sound speakers, or both of your ears in your headset, are screaming at you to stop for whatever reason. I just think it's a very effective game mechanic, and it just made me want to talk about it. Not only because it's a great game mechanic, but at the same time I find it very, very fascinating that what I consider the weakest of their games to have a great mechanic. Anyway, that's it for my praise for Beyond Two Souls. I don't want to give people the impression that I may actually like the game. Oh, no. I mean, it's an okay game, but it's considerably the weakest in the series. I say series, but you know what I mean. So what do you think? Have you guys played Beyond Two Souls? Have you experienced something like this, or do you see it as a comparison to something else like Heavy Rain, Fahrenheit, or Detroit Become Human? How do you think the mechanic that I've described in this video stacks up to the control and choice offered in those other games? And overall, what did you feel about Beyond Two Souls? Did you like it? Were you disappointed with it? Have you yet to play it? I believe it was free on PlayStation Plus maybe last month or possibly even this month. I know it kind of alternated with Heavy Rain, so I don't remember which is which. I have the actual physical version, so it doesn't really matter to me. But let me know all that good stuff in the comments section below anyway. Hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video. Why not pan over and hit that subscribe button and even turn on the notification bell. Granted, it's current year, so YouTube being YouTube, it's going to be very hard to get them to send you notifications for updates and live streams and whatnot. But hey, at least you can say you tried, am I right? As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.